Hello once again, wrestling fans, and welcome to Off the Top Rope Radio, heard worldwide on KQCK radio stations. I'm your host, Brian Shank, and in the next hour, we'll discuss all that is professional wrestling. You'll hear the latest news, informative interviews with the biggest stars in the business, and maybe even a few surprises along the way. It all starts right now on KQCK radio stations, USA and Costa Rica. And indeed, we are live once again. This time it is Wednesday, March 26th, the year 2014, and you are listening to Off the Top Rope Radio right here on KQCK radio stations, heard exclusively around the world on KQCK.com, USA, Costa Rica, Europe, Canada, England, you name a country, I'm sure we're being played in it somehow. Welcome, everybody, wrestling fans galore. This is Brian Shank. I'm the host of your program, like always, and we welcome you to Off the Top Rope Radio here in this beautiful studio, as you can see here on KQCK.com. If you know anybody who's not watching us on the live feed on the video, please feel free to let them know that we are live here. We got the studio all amped up here. We got the belts in the back there. We got the wrestling ring. As you can see in the corner back there, we got the old drum set. Somebody was slamming on the skins earlier there. We got the bar right over here. One of these days, I'm going to have this bar filled up with a bunch of beautiful ladies wearing nothing but teddies. And by that, I don't mean Teddy Long, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. We're glad you're here for this fine Wednesday afternoon here in the East Valley of Arizona. We got a fantastic show lined up. We're going to have Doug McDonald from WrestlingRumors.net here in just a moment or two and talk about all the latest news here regarding professional wrestling. That is WWE, maybe some TNA stuff. I'm going to comment on a little trip that I had. And we're also going to be discussing the Mid-South Legends reunion coming up here this coming Friday, April the 4th. Not this Friday, but a week from this Friday, April the 4th in Chalmette, Louisiana, the same weekend as WrestleMania 30. It's going to be fantastic. Go to Wrestling Legends. I'll tell you what, if you can get there, go check out all these legends out there from Mid-South Wrestling. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to talk about some of the greatest wrestlers who ever stepped foot inside the ring. They are there. And two very special guests here interviewed via telephone will be Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton. Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby, as Jimmy Cornette would once say. The Midnight Express, the original formation, as I like to say. I mean, that was the formation I remember back on NWA TV back in the 80s. TBS, all your local stations around the world. I remember Channel 60 out of Chicago, where I used to live, had the affiliate there for Worldwide Wrestling and Wrestling Pro Wrestling, whatever it was called, but just some great stuff. And I can't wait to talk to Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby. We had Bobby on our show when we used to be back in Chicago back in the day, and he was fantastic. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and also just one of the truest, nicest people that you will ever want to talk to in the wrestling business. And I really mean that because he just loves his fans. He loves the professional wrestling lifestyle. Dennis Condrey and I spoke for about 20 minutes or so when I was at the airport the other day and lined up the interview and whatnot. Another very cool guy as well. And I'm just looking forward to basically talking to them about their careers, Mid-South. We're going to have all the information later on about that as well, plus the newest talk. It's all right here on Off the Top Rope Radio. And like I said, we are glad you could make us into your schedule tonight. So we're going to bring on the phone here in a moment or two my good buddy Doug McDonald, as I call Mr. Dougie Fresh, from WrestlingRumors.net. And if you don't ever get a chance to check out his website, it's fantastic. WrestlingRumors.net. Go check it out. Like them on Facebook. You get all the latest news feeds right there in your news feed. It's tremendous. Good stuff. Breaking news. He talks about what it's all about, and we're talking WrestleMania 30 as well, because it's the big weekend. All the great people that are going to be at the Wrestling Legends reunion here for Mid-South Wrestling as well. So without further ado, let's bring on my good buddy here from WrestlingRumors.net. He's the senior editor over there. I call him Dougie Fresh. He's my good buddy, Mr. Doug McDonald. What's going on, brother?
Dougie Fresh in the house.
I like it.
What's up, brother?
It was pretty funny. I'm sitting there playing with the graphics, getting the show started, and he sends me a text and says, "Hey, those graphics look wonderful, man. Nice job." And I'm going, okay, there's something weird here. He must be sneaking around. He's somewhere. How in the hell did he see all this? And I looked at the computer and it says, "You see all. I am Dougie Fresh, damn it. I will make you shit your pants." No, it's good to have you on, man. You know, we talked last week about some things. How'd your week go? Pretty good? Everything going fine in your life there?
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah?
Always busy, always working.
Oh, yeah, it's a good time, man. You know, and you're working, and it's kind of funny when you say that because, you know, this is a big lifestyle for you here, the world of professional wrestling, and It's interesting because a lot of fans who are still watching the shows out there, Raw, I know that this last week was not the greatest Raw for a lot of people based on some comments I read. But let's kind of open up the book here. We talk about Raw, usually the first part with our conversation. They didn't really seem to kind of carry over from the week before when Daniel Bryan got the living hell beat out of him. He wasn't even on the show, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't get a chance to see all of it due to some programming situations on my DVR box. But as far as I know, he wasn't on the program. Am I correct?
He was not. Just like I said last week, he shouldn't have been.
I agree.
When you get the crap kicked out of you, you should not be on the program the next week.
Right.
I know for a fact that he won't be on SmackDown either.
Okay.
And so they're selling this for an entire week. I love it. He got the crap knocked out of him.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody, I know Brooklyn, they were upset that he wasn't there.
No
he
sleep.
was supposed to work dark match.
Mm-hmm.
And when they announced it was the Shield versus the Wyatts in the dark main event, the crowd got pissed off and started freaking out.
Yeah.
But I thought it was the right thing to do.
I agree with you, and I think that if you look back in wrestling, I mean, it's a psychological aspect of the wrestling world. It makes sense because I see some guys come back the next week and they don't have a mark on them, and these are some other shows that I've seen in the past. But I agree with you, Dougie. Good idea for them to hold them off, and like they always say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something.
The show was crap.
Before we go on with that, my dentist had a saying similar to that. My dentist used to say, abscess makes the cheek grow rounder. So, sorry. Had to throw that in there. So, anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no, Raw on the whole was a snooze fest. Mm-hmm. It was extremely boring. Long, drawn-out segments that just didn't progress anything.
Mm-hmm.
The Lesnar-Undertaker storyline is non-existent. I will say this. They had an amazing number one contender fatal four-way match
mm-hmm.
for the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Credit goes to Sheamus and Christian, who actually suffered a concussion in that match, is now out for a little bit.
Right.
And Dolph Ziggler. And who else was in that match? I'm losing my mind now.
Wasn't Christian in that?
Well, it was Christian, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, and Alberto Del Rio.
Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah. Fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
And then the build towards John Cena, Bray Wyatt was excellent. Everything else was crap.
Yeah. I got to say something. I like that John Cena is somebody who is not being profiled in a high position in this WrestleMania. I like that they're giving the nod to Daniel Bryan, and I really do think that John Cena is probably very much in favor of Daniel Bryan really receiving the lion's share in terms of attention for this pay-per-view, because we've seen John Cena for the last 10 years or so always be the main event inside the ring. And let's face it, the guy is the biggest thing right now in wrestling, and he still will be in terms of merchandise sales and with the kids and everything else. I mean, he does have a very legitimate, honest, sincere following. But I do like that they're starting to play a little bit more and say, hey, let's go further. Daniel Bryan is the guy to do it. It makes sense to me. But in the same respect, Doug, they're not really losing a lot with John Cena not being in that position, because I think that his wrestling match with Bray Wyatt should probably be, in my opinion, one of the top 2 or maybe 3 matches of the whole show.
Yeah, there's 4 main events.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Most definitely. It's one of the most progressed and interesting feuds going into Mania. More people will be, and Bray Wyatt's playing the face here.
Mm-hmm.
Monday night on every show, the Wyatt family have been playing up to the crowd, getting the cheap pop, saying the city's name in their intro.
I know. Is that weird?
And the fact that he's facing John Cena,
yeah,
pretty much makes him the face here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the crowd was super hot behind the Wyatts and Luke Harper on Raw. And the last image of John Cena being tied up in the ropes with Eric Rowan's sheep mask on his face was incredible. I mean, talk about storytelling.
Yeah. No, they're handling this very well, and like I said, I hope that John Cena is liking the program that he's in, because let's think about it. Around this time every year in the past 8 or 9 years, we'll be talking about the main event that John Cena will be involved in, like the main event, and this is nice to see this. I like this. I think that he's going to be still in a high-profile match, and if you look at the last time that he wrestled like against Cesaro, excuse me, about a month or so ago on Raw, when John Cena has to really open up that bag and pull out some fantastic wrestling demonstrations inside the ring, he can do it. And there's no doubt about that. I mean, you go back to like Hulk Hogan, you say, well, Hogan's not the greatest wrestler to ever step foot inside the ring. But I'll tell you something, when him and Warrior had to go at it in Toronto in April of 1990 at WrestleMania 6, that to me was a very good match. So, I mean, I think
he had to carry that match, too.
Yeah, but still, it was good. And I think, too, Doug, that WrestleMania obviously brings something out of people to really, really step it up and shine. And I think Cena and Bray Wyatt will be no different.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about something else here. Let's talk about something else here if we can for a minute, because I don't want to drum too hard on that, because, I mean, obviously, we're going to kind of try to talk about all these things. And I want to save something for next week with the big rundown of the matches. We can get more specific on that. But tell us a little bit here about the story you had on WrestlingRumors.net. Christian removed from the main event Intercontinental Championship match. I want to read just a little bit of this report here. It says WWE.com has received word from backstage at the Garden in Boston that Christian will not be competing tomorrow night against tonight, that is, against the Intercontinental Champion Big E. This was for, of course, the SmackDown. It says here he won an opportunity to challenge the powerful champion's illustrious title in a fast-paced fatal four-way match. However, with the two-time world champion not lacing up his boots, questions are already beginning to arise as to when that'll happen. Can you tell us about what's going on with this? Because a lot of people are saying different things about this whole Christian situation.
Well, they did announce prior to main event starting on the WWE network last night.
Right.
Since that airs live, and that's where the Intercontinental Championship match was taking place.
Yeah.
They announced that he suffered a slight concussion.
Okay. In
the match on Raw. And then they confirmed that last night in the recap of main event on the WWE website, saying that he did suffer a concussion. This guy just can't catch a break.
I know. I was going to say
He's the king of concussions. Yeah. I mean, I literally think Vince McMahon is telling people to go in there and take him off, to just take him out, because he hates him that much.
He really
does want to. He just hates Christian's face so much, and we've reported that before too. Vince McMahon literally feeds JBL every line that JBL says about Christian being ugly, because Vince McMahon thinks Christian is the ugliest competitor he has ever seen. He thinks he has a rat face, and if he could, he would put a blue dot over his face every time he walked out to the ring.
Now, wait a minute. Now, is this documented somewhere? Has this been something?
Documented.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I can send you the link.
Jeez.
JBL said it in an interview. Vince McMahon talked about it in an interview a few years ago.
That's funny.
He just doesn't like his look. He thinks he's completely ugly.
I was going to ask you a little bit about this, because I brought this up for a reason, because I know that Christian seems to be kind of not getting some of the breaks here, whether it's a legitimate legitimate injury, that is, compared to a storyline situation. And I did hear some reports about certain things about Vince McMahon not caring much for his character or whatever. I didn't know it was actually his facial features that was a big thing for him, but that's funny stuff. And I'm not trying to laugh. It's just that if this is actually physically documented, like you said, and everything else, it's kind of sad, because Christian's one hell of a performer. He still is, and I don't like hearing that about Christian. But I'm not going to argue or whatever else about it, but and going on to WrestleMania 2, we've got the big main event here. Tell me first of all what you think, because a lot of people are discussing this. I read some other stuff on different sites and different stories and stuff, but with this match against Triple H for Daniel Bryan to qualify for a three-way competition against Batista and Randy Orton, what do you think is going to be the whole outcome of this match in regards to, will they make this a clean finish? Will this be something that he'll win maybe with a submission? How do you think this match, just based on your opinion, will actually go down?
I've said on Wrestling Room Radio that I believe Daniel Bryan goes over clean, but the way they've been talking about Triple H going over on Raw the past couple weeks, especially this past week,
right?
They're either doing a fantastic job of making fans believe that Triple H is going to be in that title match, or they're and teasing a fatal four-way, or they're just truly just thinking maybe they need to have a fatal four-way. For me, I think Daniel Bryan goes over clean.
I hope so.
And goes into the triple threat and leaves with the title.
Well, and the thing is, too, Doug, is that you look at it like this. If they're going to keep playing with the main event possibly up until the last minute like this, where it could turn into some kind of fatal four-way, I just feel like it needs to be advertised, finished, kaboom, done the week before WrestleMania. If they're going to leave it like it is, with his match being a stipulation of him getting that championship match, fine. And that's what it should be. They've worked too hard and put too much into this for the outcome not to be Daniel Bryan winning the championship at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, Louisiana. It has to happen. If there's any sort of snag in the road, to that, to me, in my own opinion, it'll be a real huge failure for all the fans out there who have really bought in to the underdog known as Daniel Bryan.
I agree, but they have also gone back to a storyline involving Stephanie McMahon saying that she owns everything.
Yeah.
And we know during that triple threat, or during the Triple H Daniel Bryan match, that outside forces are going to be seen in that match to try to keep Daniel Bryan from winning. Whether it's Kane and the New Age Outlaws or Stephanie herself, there's going to be forces trying to interfere. And it makes zero sense to bring Vince McMahon back in favor of Daniel Bryan, but that's the only way a fatal four-way could be made, is if Bryan gets screwed in his match with Triple H by Stephanie McMahon or the Authority, and Vince comes back and puts Bryan in the triple threat of Triple H, Batista, and Orton.
Yeah.
And then it's a fatal four-way. The outcome of the main event is going to be Daniel Bryan as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. There's nothing else they can do there.
If they want that Superdome in New Orleans, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, if they want that place to explode and literally almost come off the hinges, they better follow through with the plan to have that happen, because I'm just going to say it like this. I am not the biggest Daniel Bryan fan there is. I like him. I think he's very good at what he does. I think he's excellent at his craft. He's one of the greatest wrestlers, not entertainers, not superstars, wrestlers that I have seen in the recent years. I admire his style of wrestling. I think that when you look back at some of the matches he had against, Adam Pearce and whatnot in the past, and CM Punk and everything else, where he came from is tremendous. Once known as Bryan Danielson, Ring of Honor. I mean, you look back at him, he was just this little, clean-cut guy and everything. He's got a whole new image, a whole new outlook, and for him to have done what he did by capturing the WWE fans in such a way that you see them doing it other matches. Yes. I went to a match in Milwaukee last week, and there was about 8 people in the front row doing that for no other reason but just to do it because it's the thing to do. And how about, just on a side note, with the fans being so much into it, how quickly did Fandango's appeal just go the other way? Because remember in the beginning was da-da-da-da-da, and they were doing the whole thing. Now when his music comes on, you hear nothing. I mean,
it depends on what city you're in.
Yeah.
And they were in New Jersey last year. They'll do it again this year when Extreme Rules is in New Jersey.
Yeah.
They'll Fandango the entire night.
Yeah, I just brought that up. I thought it was kind of funny. But going back to Daniel Bryan, though, obviously it has to make sense for him to do this and win the championship. And I really want to see now. I'm looking always ahead because kind of have an idea of where they're going to go with this, what's going to happen. We have an idea. We have a pretty good thought process of what will happen. But now I'm thinking, Doug, what's going to happen in the future, how they're going to keep him going, what new opponents are they going to throw at him, will the Authority eventually dissolve as a storyline, because I just can't see the Authority thing just keep going for the next 6 months or so while Daniel Bryan hopefully... Well, now you say it has to. Well, I don't think it has to, but I want to hear your say.
I think the only way you keep the fans super hot on Daniel Bryan is to have the Authority throwing opponents at him to try and get the titles off of him.
Yeah.
That's the only way you keep him hot. Because he's the guy that's been going against the Authority for the last 9 months.
Yeah.
You have to have the Authority chase back after him now.
But now, wouldn't this be a good thing for him to say, hey, I've accomplished what I had to. I did what I had to by winning the championship. Now it's time to move on. I mean, there could still be some involvement by the Authority, but I don't know if it should be as much as it is on TV, because I don't know if that's something that really needs to be done, because to me it's like, okay, mission accomplished. The angle has worked very well in the last 4 months or so, or whatever else. It seems like now move on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking because I want to see something new. I want to see something fresh. Not Dougie Fresh, because you're already here, but...
to me, though, that would be them losing money. He is now number 2 at merchandise behind John Cena.
Yes, he is.
Since Phil Brooks has left.
Phil Brooks.
And if you're going to have him stay hot, then you have to have somebody now chasing after him. And it can't be Randy Orton or Batista.
Right.
Batista's comeback is failed.
Yeah.
Now he's the crybaby heel.
Yeah.
And he's going to have somebody sick after him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Authority have to be the ones to do that. They are the ultimate heel now.
Okay.
They played in-betweener for 8 months. They're now full heel, and if he wins the title, they have to try to get it back.
Okay, fair enough. We got a few more minutes here before we have to let you go and move on with the show, but I want to bring up another match at WrestleMania because this has been kind of a hot talk here in the last couple of days. And you mentioned earlier in the show, Doug, we're talking to Doug McDonald here, live via satellite, the senior editor of WrestlingRumors.net. They didn't really seem to play too much and make the Undertaker streak a big relative part of the show here recently. Now, I remember the last 2 times that Shawn Michaels went against him, and the one time when Triple H went against him twice, so did Shawn Michaels, right? They both went twice against him, didn't they? Yeah. Okay. So those were huge storylines. I mean, those were big, and I don't know if it's because of the other 2 people, meaning Shawn Michaels and Triple H. That's possible because when you got those 2 up there, you're going to get a little more recognition if your name is Brock Lesnar, or as Paulie Dangerous said, Brock Lesnar. Anyway, my point is that it didn't seem like be a big focal point, because here's the streak, going for the big streak here and really going to try to keep it going and whatnot. And now there's a possibility of a casket match taking place, which I believe I read something on your website by saying it takes some sort of credibility out of the streak versus the streak that is match, that is against The Undertaker versus the streak. And you're saying that, well, you told me not too long ago that there should be some sort of stipulation or some sort of gimmick, easy for me to say, in this match. Now, I want to ask you, do you agree with it being the I can't even talk to a casket match. I want to say Cactus Jack is what I'm trying. Casket match. Do you think that should be? Yeah. Do you think that should be it, or do you think there should be something else involved in this match? And why does there need to be some sort of stipulation or some sort of gimmick involved? Why can't they have a straight-out wrestling match? I think that's what they should do.
Undertaker just turned 49, but his body is like that of a 70-year-old.
Yes, it is.
Brock Lesnar is one of the hardest-hitting beasts in the industry.
Yep.
Can legitimately rip your face off
Yeah.
and put it on mine if he wanted.
That might not be a good thing.
I'm just saying. He could.
That was a shot. That was a shot at me, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
'Cause I would walk around with your face on my face.
That's funny.
No, listen. You have a frail guy, and this is why I believe Brock Lesnar hasn't gotten any upper hand in the preliminary building up to this match. It's because they are worried that if Brock Lesnar lays Undertaker out in the middle of the ring with a thunderous F5, he's going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing is, the first week when Undertaker came out and answered Brock Lesnar's, or actually confronted Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar wasn't even going to have a match.
Mm-hmm.
He came out, he stabbed him in the hand with a pin, and then choke slammed him through a table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Beast incarnate got owned to begin with, at the start of this thing.
Mm.
And he's been made to look weak.
I know. He has. He has.
For 4 weeks.
I know.
Even though Paul Heyman consistently says that he is the only one that can end the streak. Why should I believe that?
I know.
When he's been consistently made to look weak, week after week.
Right.
You can't. There's no interest in a thought that Brock Lesnar could actually win.
Right.
Everyone knows Lesnar's not winning here, and there's no creative storyline to make me believe that he could.
Yeah.
And as far as a stipulation or a gimmick, these two can't go 30 minutes and have a fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker is likely to get bruised up, beat up within the first 20 minutes with Brock Lesnar. He's a heavy-hitting guy.
Yeah.
He's not a finesse guy.
Mm-mm. No, you're
Taker
right.
could go 40. Taker could go 45 with somebody like CM Punk or Daniel Bryan.
Right.
But you give him Brock Lesnar, and he has to go 30. They need something. Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Something, an attraction. Something where, Taker doesn't take the F5 more than once.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do last man standing.
Right.
The street match.
Yeah.
You don't want a 10 count.
Right.
You want something with near falls.
Yes.
Which the casket match takes away as well, but at least the casket match is a gimmick.
Good point.
There's an attraction there.
Good point.
We even said something, like a Buried Alive, or, which they're not going to do.
No.
But something like a submissions match.
Mm-hmm.
They're both big UFC guys, but they're not going to do a submission match because they're not referencing Undertaker's past with Brock Lesnar. If they would have done that before, if they would bring that up, we could have had an amazing storyline. Undertaker has never beaten Brock Lesnar on pay-per-view.
No, you're right.
The only time he beat him in 2002 and 2003 was on SmackDown via countout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good memory.
So,
yeah.
Undertaker has a purpose in going after Brock Lesnar, but they're not bringing it up.
Right.
So it's just a failed storyline at this point, and the only thing that I'm excited about is actually being in New Orleans for the streak match.
Right on. Right on.
It'll be a good match.
Yep.
It'll be heavy-hitting. It'll be a brawl. But as far as keeping me interested through storytelling, they have failed miserably.
Yep.
I think with Lesnar being built up as weak the last 5 weeks, that he has to get some sort of upper hand on Taker this Monday night on Raw.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens because obviously it's going to be a hell of a match, like you said. And Doug, we're against the clock here. Unfortunately, I got to get moving here. But listen, always great stuff with my buddy Doug McDonald from WrestlingRumors.net. We can sit here and talk for 2 hours about this, and one of these days we'll do a full-hour show, I guarantee you. And we could definitely do it, brother. I know that for sure. But we got to get going. Great stuff as always, my friend. You know your stuff. You always do your homework. I appreciate what you bring to this program. You're an integral part of it, and I thank you very much for that. And again, everybody, go check out WrestlingRumors.net. that on your browser there, type it in, get all the information, join them on Facebook, get all the cool stuff, all the recent and latest feeds right to your Facebook page. It's awesome. Again, Doug, good talking to you. I'll talk to you before the week is out, I'm sure. And again, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, as always. I'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good, pal. You take good care. All right, there you go. My buddy Doug McDonald checking us in. And we're going to come back in a minute or two with the first interview. Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Don't go away.
Are you having plumbing or septic problems? No worries. Call Cartwright's Queen Creek Plumbing and Septic Service. Been in the Valley since 1996. Family owned and operated. Proudly serving East Valley and surrounding areas. With a full range of services from drain cleaning, septic tank pumping, general maintenance and repairs, inspections for the sale of your home. They provide excellent and courteous service for all your plumbing and septic needs. We're not satisfied till you are satisfied. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Call today. Cartwright's Queen Creek Plumbing and Septic Service. Contact Denise at 480-987-8051. That's 480-987-8051.
Got pain? Call Dr. Wayne. Chiropractic care may be your answer. Queen Creek Back Care. Located in Queen Creek on 20231 East Ocotillo Road on the backside of True Value Hardware Store. Safe, effective treatment with chiropractic and same-day appointments to speed your healing. With more than a decade of experience and hundreds of satisfied patients, Dr. Wayne Christensen will provide you the pain relief you've been searching for. Dr. Wayne is fully qualified to treat the entire family, even children. Call for an appointment today. 480-677-3900. That's 480-677-3900.
Are you ready to start taking control of your future and maximize your earning potential? Central Arizona College has smaller class sizes and personalized attention to help you compete in today's tough job market. CAC now serves Santan Valley and Queen Creek. The CAC Santan Center is located in the shops at Copper Basin on Hunt Highway, behind Barrow's Pizza. Stop in and see how taking classes at CAC costs a fraction of a state university, and your credits can transfer. So, if you want to earn real money, you need to learn real skills at Central Arizona College. Enroll in classes today by calling 480-677-7825 or visit www.centralaz.edu or call 480-677-7825 or visit www.centralaz.edu. Central Arizona College, your way.
Your college, your way. Central Arizona College. Get on down and get educated. Damn it. If you want to get educated on professional wrestling, this is the place to be. And I'm very happy to bring on my first guest of the evening, one half of the Midnight Express, one of the greatest tag teams I ever seen in person on TV each and every week. They were phenomenal. The original formation, in my opinion, Loverboy Dennis Condrey. And my next guest, longtime friend of mine, beautiful Bobby Eaton. He's joining us right now on Off the Top Rope Radio here on KQCK. Brian Shank hanging with Bobby Eaton. Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Brian. How you doing?
Awesome, man. Hey, it's good to hear your voice because, over the last few months or so, we haven't heard all the greatest things about you. I know you kind of went through a few health situations and whatnot, but I was talking to your agent here off the air last night, and he said that everything's going really good. You're feeling in good shape, and you're still out there working, 4 or 5 times a month and doing a lot of meet and greets and stuff, and that's good to hear, man. I'm glad everything's going well for you.
Good. Yeah, thank you. It is. I'm doing a lot better.
Excellent, excellent. Bobby, we're sitting here talking about the last few weeks about MidSouthLegends.com, which is the website associated with the Mid-South Legends reunion coming up here in Chalmette, Louisiana. When I think about Louisiana, I remember I go back to the days of the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup that you guys have been a part of in the last, I think it was 87 and 88 both years. And tremendous memories there, not too far from New Orleans, and it's WrestleMania weekend as well. But we're talking Mid-South Wrestling. Some of the great guys like Kamala and Bill Watts and yourself and Loverboy Dennis, Jimmy Cornette, Bill Dundee, Rock and Roll Express, Mr. Olympia, I mean, Jerry Studd, they're all there. And let's talk a little bit about your memories when you first were in Mid-South, because the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express feud actually started there. And I remember some fantastic knockdown matches. What are your overall memories of Mid-South when you were there?
Well, that's where Jim, Dennis, and myself first got put together. Was in Mid-South Wrestling. And that was our first big push. You know, so and we went into TV like a month or two, every other Wednesday or something like that, down in Shreveport. But I mean, I was excited about it. My first big break, had a lot of fun down there.
Oh yeah. And you had a lot of great company, too, like I mentioned some of those names there. And, you know, the Fantastics. I just spoke with Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton last week here on the show. And before I brought them on the air, me and Tommy were talking me and Tommy talked for like almost an hour just, you know, shooting the shit about stuff. And he brought up a great thing. He says to me, you know, talking about the Midnight Express right now, Brian, he says, I'm going to tell you something, and I mean this with all my heart. He says, to me, the single greatest worker that I ever saw in my time wrestling was Bobby Eaton. Now, he said that. It's on record. And I said, wow, what an honor. And I know if Bobby was here right now, he'd be very humbly appreciative of that comment. And, you know, you were great inside the ring when you did what you had to do in there. And what I liked about it is that it just didn't seem like a lot of effort because you were just so good against the other people you were working with, as well as the same people you had in your tag team. I mean, that's a great honor to hear Tommy say something like that.
That is real nice. I mean, I'm honored to hear somebody say that about me. I mean, of course, I'm not a student of the game. I was brought up in the wrestling business. You know, putting up the ring, then starting to wrestle, then getting a break, and then working every night. You know, it was a dream for me. You know.
Every night, indeed. Like you said, you know, people didn't work just 2-3 shows a night or a week. It was every single night. And the way that, like you said, with Jim Cornette in there, being your mouthpiece and being the guy who was out there doing the stuff that had to be done, and, you know, with the microphone in front of him and stuff, just tremendous matches, like I said. When you moved over from Mid-South to the NWA, was there any type of difference in regards to how you put your matches together, or how you were received by the fans? Did it all just follow over very nicely from Mid-South?
It kind of fell over real nice, you know, because Dennis and me and Cornette had been on the road for a solid year there, traveling every night together. And we knew what we wanted, and we knew we could do about anything that anybody else wanted to do, you know. Right. We worked with big guys, we worked with smaller guys, whatever. But it was a more of a bigger function of us working pay-per-views or whatever you want to, whatever they called it then. I can't think what they called it.
Closed circuit TV.
Closed circuit TV. Yeah. You know, so and we looked forward. We knew we had that to come up, you know, to do, and we just challenged ourselves to do it. You know, we just didn't just show up at some matches and go over a match. We thought about them a lot, you know, especially with Cornette. He's a master of the game.
Oh, without a doubt. He is definitely a master in a lot of ways, and he pretty much he's probably forgotten more than a lot of us will ever know about professional wrestling. I mean, that's pretty easy to say there, but yeah. In case you're just tuning in, we are speaking to beautiful Bobby Eaton right here, one half of the Midnight Express, and it's really cool to talk with you because, like I said, we haven't talked in a while, and I remember not too long ago that there was a situation coming up where we heard rumors about you coming over to the Florida Well, I shouldn't say Florida Championship Wrestling, but the Florida area, working with some of the guys in the WWE developmental program. Did that ever actually physically happen, or was that something that kind of was talked about and not carried through?
I think it was talked about to everybody except me, probably. You know? But I mean, I've heard a lot about that stuff down there, and there's still the options are open for me to, you know, maybe somewhere down the line, maybe I can go down there or whatever. Yeah. You know,
That's cool.
Now that I've got all my stuff together here, my health is a lot better.
That's good. That's good.
So.
Well, without our health, we ain't much, and it's good to hear that you're doing well, and I'm glad that things are on the right course for you, and obviously I can't wait to physically meet you once again here in person at the Mid-South Legends Reunion. It's going to be taking place Friday, April the 4th, 2014, Chalmette, Louisiana. It's a huge fan fest. We talked about some of the people there, Rock and Roll Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, Superstar Bill Dundee, Kamala. We just had Kamala on the phone a couple weeks ago. What are your thoughts about good old James Harris? Because he's just one of the nicest people.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. I've been knowing him a long time.
Yeah.
Of course, he's had some health problems too.
Yeah.
But I've been knowing him for a long time, before he got to be Kamala, when he's just Big James Harris.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine.
That's cool. He's going to be there, and he's looking forward to it. He told me, Bobby, that this is the first time in about 3 years he's actually been outside his immediate area. Not just going to the store or going to a friend's house down the road or whatnot, or a family member. This is the first time he's actually been out somewhere. So this is huge for him to get out there. I know you guys are just going to love on each other and just share a lot of fun stories, and really look forward to seeing each other again.
Hey, Brian, you know that guy can sing, don't you?
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in shock one night in Memphis. I didn't know nothing about it. I looked out there and he had almost like a sports jacket and dress pants.
Yeah.
And he's dancing out there on the stage. I'm like, who's this? And down I looked up there and it was down Kamala. He's singing and flipped me out. And I was just impressed. I was impressed as heck.
Well, next thing I'm going to hear that Bobby Eaton is a hell of a dancer. I bet you that'll be the next thing I find out.
Boy, that'll be the day.
It's called the Suplex Shuffle.
When are you going down to Louisiana?
Probably going to fly out on Thursday, so I'll be there. Thursday. Are you coming in earlier than that? Are you coming in Thursday as well, or?
Thursday. Yeah. Well, Brian and I are coming in Thursday.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll keep Brian's number handy here, and we'll definitely, hopefully, maybe we can have a few beers or something Thursday night. That'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd love to do.
Good.
I have no problem with Bobby Eaton buying me a couple of beers. I mean, there's we could do. We'll get a case of beer and we'll just drink it somewhere in a parking lot like the old days. How's that sound?
There you go.
We're talking.
Get us some bologna.
There you go, some bologna. Yeah, the bologna blowout like the CAC up in Vegas, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Well, holler at me when you get down there, and Brian and I'll be down there sometimes. I'm not sure what time we're leaving here. We're driving down. It's not far, about 6 hours from here.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me last night on the phone. That's cool. That's not too far for you guys to hop in the car and have a little road trip, man. Those are always fun. Get some road sodas and not if you're driving, of course. But I remember the old road trips.
Right.
Yeah. We always had a cooler in the back, and someone played bartender except for the driver. So always be smart, people. Don't be silly out there when you're driving. Bobby, I was really looking forward to talking to you today because when I talk about Mid-South and I talk about the NWA and Jim Crockett and stuff like that, I mean, it's tremendous wrestling. There was really no gimmicks needed. It was just what it was in front of you. There was psychology. There was a wrestling match. There was some good 30-minute matches, and it always kept your interest. And I'm glad that you were a part of those because when I talk about tag teams, the Midnight Express is always in my top 10, no matter what. Either version, in my opinion. You were Stan Lane or you were Dennis. I was always a little partial to you and Dennis because it was something about that camaraderie with you guys that always just made me smile.
Right.
To some class. What's one match that you can remember with Dennis, just off the top of your head, that just clicks in your head right away, that you remember as just saying, damn, we are kicking ass tonight, and we are showing the world what professional wrestling is. Do you remember one of those matches that you can name?
Well, not bragging, but I think we had a few of them,
Oh, yeah. God, yes.
So it'd be hard for me to try to figure out one, thinking about it. Dennis could probably come up with one better than me, Because I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them all,
Yeah.
I liked them.
Did you have a favorite tag team that you liked to work against more than the others? Was there anybody you liked working the most, like the Rock and Rolls, or?
Well, of course, the Rock and Roll was my favorite. He was in, of course, the Fantastics, Dusty and Magnum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. You had the Armstrongs. There was a bunch of people that going around there. And then we wrestled Bill Watts and Junkyard Dog for like the whole summer.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. The JYD Memorial thing's coming up here, the Battle Royal. I was going to bring up Junkyard Dog's name. I'm glad you said that because what an integral part. Louisiana heavyweight champion at one time in Mid-South, and he was tremendous. JYD, great memories. Everybody we've had on here in the last few weeks has always had something good or funny to say about JYD. Do you have a good memory of him, or a good joke, or a good rib, or something fun you can remember about the Junkyard Dog, Mr. Sylvester Ritter?
I don't really have no jokes. We never really hung around each other. We wrestled each other for.
Oh yeah.
He came from Canada. He came to work for Nick Gillis.
Yep.
His name was Leroy Rochester.
Oh wow.
I don't know where he came up with that name. So
I don't either.
He's so big, It's a good thing that he was a babyface because it's hard to move him around,
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was easy to work with. People liked him. You always got a good little pop whenever he done something to you.
There you go.
And he's easy to work with. Easy going.
Yeah. God bless his soul, Mr. Junkyard Dog, Sylvester Ritter. Let me just give you 3 quick questions here before we go. And I always like to do this because I like to get just the thing that comes off the top of your head, the very first answer you give me, okay? You ready?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The most underrated professional wrestler who never really got a big break in this business is?
Probably was Brett Armstrong.
Yes.
Ricky Morton probably too.
Yeah. It's funny. I said Brad Armstrong for the last, 5-6 years I've been asking these questions. And last week on the show, I had Tommy Rogers say the same thing. And I totally agree. And the other one I want to throw out there, too, I think is Sam Houston. I think he also was another guy.
Sam Houston was good, yeah.
He's great.
Sam Houston was good.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you a couple more here really quick. The one tag team that I wish I could have wrestled but we never got a chance to was...
Oh, Lord.
Now, I can be any tag team. It doesn't matter if it's, past or present, whatever. Any tag team ever.
Okay, well, I can tell you the tag team that I was scared of as a kid was the German team of the Ron Bronner. Colin Craig Ron Bronner. I dreamed about them guys. I put the ring up, and them guys would just look at you like they're going to, kill you. but I didn't really want to work with them. But tag teams, there's a lot of tag teams. I can't remember it all. Of course, Ray Stevens and what's his name?
Well, you had Nick Bockwinkel. Pat Patterson. That's a good one.
Nick Bockwinkel,
yeah.
Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens.
Woo.
Pat Patterson and Nick Bockwinkel.
Wow.
Pat Patterson and a lot of guys,
Awesome. Okay, last question for you before I let you go. Excuse me. Pardon me. If I could pick one person from history, living or dead, doesn't matter, anybody in this world, living or dead, to spend 5 minutes with, to talk and hang out, that person would be...
Well, of course, Jim Cornette.
I like it.
Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson, yeah. One of your great friends. One of your great friends in the business.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, we had a lot of good fun. One time, one of my favorite tag team partners, too. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, he was good.
I've run a lot of guys, too. I've tag team, we've been tag team with put me together. We got like Arn Anderson was a fun team to work with. Was Rick Rose, Steve Austin,
yeah.
I can't say what that's with. All the guys.
Larry Zbyszko, part of the Dangerous Alliance, yeah.
Larry Dangerous Alliance, yeah.
Good.
Larry Zbyszko.
Good stuff.
I don't know, is he going to be down there, you think?
I don't think Larry's going to be there. I haven't heard his name, but I mean, you never know. The guy, he's in Florida. He's a big part of the wrestling business in regards to, where you guys came from and whatnot. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did come out. I'd love to see his face. I mean, it'd be great to see Larry once again.
Oh yeah, we had a good time with the Dangerous Alliance.
Oh yeah, that was a great great federation because you had a little bit of a stint there as a baby face, and then out of nowhere, boom, you became the heels once again, and that stable was fantastic because you had you went up against people like Sting and Dusty Rhodes and everything. I mean, just tremendous stuff. So, but Bobby, unfortunately, we got to get moving on here because we're gonna bring Loverboy Dennis on the phone in a moment. But I got to tell you, first of all, it's good to hear your voice again. I'm glad you're doing well. It's been a long time since we've talked, and it's just I'm looking.
Look me up down in Louisiana. Look me up down there, okay?
You bet your butt I will.
Line 1.
You
Thanks
bet.
for having me.
You bet I will, Bobby. I'll definitely give you a call when we get down there. And listen, hey, safe travels to you. And again, Brian out there, your agent, tell him once again I said thank you very much for everything. You're a very nice guy.
He'll Here he is. You can tell him.
Okay.
Take care, Ron.
All right, Bobby. Take care. Hey, Brian, man, thanks so much for helping us out with that interview, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, brother.
And we're going to hook you up when we get down there. We'll have a few beers together, okay? Like I said, I have no problem with Bobby Eaton buying me a couple of beers.
Hey, yeah, as long as you don't get one, we're good to go, brother.
You got it, brother. No, I got no problem breaking out the wallet. I got no problem breaking out the wallet with my buddy Bobby and my buddy Brian. So it's good hearing you. And again, thanks so much. Safe travels to you guys. And again, I appreciate you joining us here on Off the Top Rope Radio. And we'll talk to you soon when we get down there.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brian. All right, there you go. That's my good buddy there, Brian, one of our agents there, agent friends and whatnot. It's cool to hear the voice of Bobby Eaton once again, one of the greatest ever. And we're going to be coming back with Loverboy Dennis Condrey in just a few seconds. Don't go away.
More music, 24 hours a day.
Another day, just believe, another day. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe.
Ami Hazard here. Catch the buzz on the Random Affairs Show every other Sunday, discussing random topics on health, fashion, music, art, and life with local and national guests. Check the calendar on kqcklive.com for dates.
Another day, just believe.
When you visit Hill Family Dentistry in Santan Valley, dentist Dr. Tim Hill provides each patient with personalized, gentle care that you deserve. Our entire team is dedicated to providing you and your family with services that will make you smile. With a full range of general, cosmetic, and specialty dentistry services that will keep you and your family smiling. Our commitment to our community is to provide outstanding oral health. Hill Family Dentistry is located on 36359 Gansell Road in Santan Valley, diagonally across from Banner Ironwood Hospital. Evening and weekend appointments available. We accept most insurances and have in-office policies available for non-insured. Contact us today at 480-588-8127. Hill Family Dentistry. Hi, Marie here for wannasing.com. Are you looking for professional DJ or karaoke services for your next holiday party or get-together? wannasing.com can provide the best in sound, lighting, and a professional MC to host your next event. Whether it be a company party, birthday party, wedding, or any occasion, wannasing.com is ready to provide the fun and make it a night to remember for years to come. Call 480-664-8801. That's 480-664-8801. Mention this radio ad and receive a special discount for your next fun event. wannasing.com.
If you want to have a good time, check out Wanna Sing, because that's a very cool thing that Marie out there does. It's always good. Check them out, Wanna Sing. You're going to love it. Hey, we're back here at Off the Top Rope Radio, professional wrestling talk. Having a good old time here. Brian Shank with you here for another 15 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. We'll see how it goes. You're listening to us live exclusively on KQCK.com. We're streaming worldwide, baby. We got great music, great hits, great talk shows like this. And check out our website for all the information, KQCK.com. It's all right there for you. And I'm excited to have my next guest on the phone with us. He's somebody who really doesn't need much of an introduction in terms of being a great tag team partner of another tag team partner that we had on the phone a moment ago, beautiful Bobby Eaton. We're talking to one half of the original Midnight Express, in my opinion, the best faction of the Midnight Express, the one and only Mr. Loverboy, Dennis Condrey. Welcome Off the Top Rope Radio at Brian Shank. How you doing, Dennis?
Brian, I'm doing great. How are you tonight, buddy?
Excellent, man. I'm just so glad we can have you on the phone. You know, I've been wanting to interview here in the last couple of years, and didn't get a chance to ever get in touch with you, but I'm glad we can connect and talk some professional wrestling and your career. Mid-South coming up here, the Legends Reunion, Friday, April the 4th, 2014. You're going to be a big part of that, man, and it's good to hear your voice.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we're looking, Jimmy, Bobby, and myself are really looking forward to that. We've been waiting on that for a while, and we can't wait to get there and see each other. We don't get to see each other as much as we once did, of course, but about 3 or 4 times a year we'll hook up and go to one of those New Orleans type deals, and we really have a great time just being around each other again.
Oh, absolutely. You know, isn't it weird, too, that you spent probably almost every minute of every day, 8 days a week, wrestling with these guys for, the 5-6 years in a row or whatnot. And then, a few years go by and it's less and less. And then, 10, 20, 30 years go by and it's like, damn, I remember those days just like it was yesterday,
Well, when we get together, we reminisce and, we talk about those days, and we actually still talk quite often on the phone. Like yesterday, Bobby called me 3 times. So, so Jimmy,
that's awesome.
I didn't understand anything you said, but I know he called. No, I'm kidding. But Jimmy and I speak quite often, and me and Jimmy and myself see each other a lot more than Bobby and myself, because Jimmy and I still do quite a bit of stuff, and Bobby has those health problems going on. But we love the guy, and we're going to stick by him. And but like you were saying, we still do talk, and we reminisce and have a great time together, especially when we go out. After those deals, like in Charlotte or wherever the deal may be, we have a great time and reminisce, and it's I don't tell the promoters, but I'd go for free, but I don't want them to know that.
Actually, in about 2 hours, my good buddy Mike is going to be hearing this. So maybe you shouldn't have said that.
God.
Yeah, there may not be a check for you when you get there. No, I'll make sure you get paid, Dennis. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay, but I appreciate it. But, we do have a great time. We really do.
That's awesome. In case you're just tuning in, everybody, here to Off the Top Rope Radio, we're speaking to one half of the greatest tag team ever, in my opinion. I always said top 10 easily, the Midnight Express. Loverboy Dennis Condrey here joining us on Off the Top Rope Radio. And Dennis, the thing that I have memories of with Mid-South, and the last few weeks we've had some of the great wrestlers of Mid-South Championship Wrestling on the phone, is I remember when you tuned into it, it was only about wrestling. There was no goofiness inside the ring. There was no things they were trying to sell off to the side. There was no hotlines. There was no 20-minute things inside the ring. It was basically a guy who welcomed you to the show, had a co-host, talked about the show coming up, who was going to be on it, what was going to be happening, and then boom, you had wrestlers, you had angles, you had matches, you had commercials, and it went from there. And it was just a pure solid hour of wrestling that was just memorable. And what it said on the marquee, as my friend Tito Santana once said, on the marquee it says wrestling. And that's what it was. It was professional wrestling.
And Brian, you're exactly right. And as you look back, not just professional wrestling in itself has changed, but the whole world has actually changed.
Oh, sure.
But professional wrestling was, especially in Mid-South, if you work for a guy named Bill Watts, you better know how to wrestle, and you better know how to sell tickets, and you have to do it with what you do in the ring. We didn't have those carnival stuff to try to draw money.
Yeah.
We just went in and wrestled and fought, and the houses just, when we got there, and in the mid-'80s, the territory wasn't all that great, and Bill Watts would be the first one to tell you that. And, after we were there a while, I'm not saying it was us, I'm just saying the group of guys that got together there, that thing went crazy. I mean, it's, first of all, when you go to the Mid-South area, that's like a different country. That's not just like a different state or Louisiana or Oklahoma. That's like a different country. Those are different people around there.
Oh, without a doubt. And like you said, there's a very sincere part of that country right there that is dedicated to their professional wrestling. And you talked about it. I mean, those are some of the greatest fans. And when you watch the matches, even going into Jim Crockett Promotions after, late 85, 86 or whatever, when you saw a match going on inside the ring, like you and the Rock and Rolls, for instance, or maybe you against, Dusty and Magnum or whatever, I mean, those crowds were hot and they popped so freaking loud. I mean, to where it was unbelievable, like it was, Led Zeppelin reforming here in 2014 or something. Just tremendous crowds, and I know it'll be no different than April 4th coming up here at the Mid-South Legends Reunion in Chalmette, Louisiana.
Well, I can't wait. I kind of got goosebumps just then when you said that. But Dusty, I'll remind you of a quick story real quick. Please. We were in Greensboro, North Carolina one night. Dusty Rhodes was on the other side of the building. They were in their dressing room. We were in ours. Mm-hmm. We went to the ring, and I'm telling you, Brian, I'll never forget that as long. This is my greatest memory in wrestling. Okay. We could not hear each other, Jimmy, Bobby, and myself, and we were standing 2 feet from each other, and we were hollering at each other.
Really?
Dusty Rhodes said, Dennis, he said, after the match was over, he said, look, I've never heard anything. He said, the decimals in this building, I'm talking about, it was we were hollering, and we couldn't hear each other talk.
That is
unbelievable. You would have had to been there, but that's my greatest memory in Greensboro, North Carolina, in about 86, probably 87.
That's tremendous. What a story. And you know, and like I said, when you would watch it on TV and see it, it would give you an idea what it was, but to be there like you were and physically see that going on and physically feeling that energy, I mean, you talk about goosebumps and adrenaline. That had to have been huge.
It was, and the thing about it, too, is not blowing a horn once again, but a lot of heels or bad guys would, you know, if you did something in the ring and you beat one of their good guys up or whatever you want to call it, or their baby faces,
sure,
you know, you'd have some trouble getting from the ring sometime back to the dressing room.
Yeah.
We had trouble getting to the ring before the match. I mean, it was just crazy. It was crazy, guys. It really was. And, you know, I really, I'm so thankful. I've been so blessed to have been there and got to do that, because that was actually a great part of my life, and I still love it. And, you know, I always will. I'm an, you know, old-timer now, but I tell you what, those days are still just like they were yesterday in my mind.
Right on, man. Right on. I agree with you very much. So we're speaking to Loverboy Dennis Condrey, one half of the Midnight Express right here on Off the Top Rope Radio at Brian Shank on KQCK.com. And like I said, we're talking about Mid-South Legends reunion coming up Friday, April the 4th, 2014. Chalmette, it's going to be at the Siger Center. And I want to go back to those days because you were talking about it and, you know, the energy and everything else. And you are a hell of a nice guy. I mean, when I first talked to you in the airport a couple days ago, I could have talked to you for like another hour. We were just hitting it off, having a good time, talking about stuff and whatever else. And we were talking about family and weather and stuff like that, and where you're at and where I was at and stuff like that. And, you know, it's interesting because a lot of the heels back in the day who played, you know, the great heel characters back in the 80s and 70s and whatever else, you know, they were looked upon as being booed and thrown batteries at and, you know, dumped beer on and stuff like that. But I've always seemed to find that they've also always been the greatest, nicest people that you could ever talk to, because I have a really hard time trying to find two nicer people I've spoke with on the radio than you and Bobby Eaton, who were, you know, two of the biggest heel one of the biggest heel teams back in the day with Jimmy Cornette. And did you ever run into a situation back in the day, Dennis, to where you know, fans after the show, I'm sure you bumped into them at restaurants or hotels or after the shows or in the parking lot, whatever else. Did they ever come up to you and want to talk to you as just Dennis Condrey, the non-wrestler? And, you know, the kayfabe back then obviously was at its height. You had the kayfabe, obviously. Did it really ever bother you that you'd said, damn, you know, I'm a heel. I wish I could sit here and talk with these guys as Dennis Condrey? Because it was a different world back then.
You know, Brian, that's a great question. And to be perfectly honest with you, I wish somehow that I could go back and change some of the things I did and said to the fans. But the fans have to realize, like you said, it was a kayfabe.
Yep.
We were under sort of like, you know, certain things that we couldn't sell, you know, we couldn't, you know, sell T-shirts like they good. We couldn't do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we couldn't sign autographs. We couldn't hold babies.
Yeah.
You know, and all that stuff. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's what I do today.
I know.
Because the kayfabe is no longer around, so we do what we want to do. We have a great time. I really have said some bad things to fans all over the world that I wish I could take some of those back. That's some of my biggest regrets because, you know, without those fans, you know, we wouldn't have been who we are now. And, you know, I really, but back in the day, let me say this right here before I go any further.
Please.
We could actually get fired or fined or whatever.
Really?
If, you know, they put the heat on us and we go out and mingle with the fans, now we're killing our own heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and going back, too, if you walked into a bar and Ricky Morton was there and you were walking in 1986 as Dennis Condrey, you either leave that bar or you go way on the other side and act like you don't see him, right?
Exactly. We just split up and go. Most of the time, actually, whomever's in the bar first, if we walked in and saw Ricky Morton, then we would leave. And if they walked in and saw, because, you know, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, and, you know, the fans, once you know, you got this guy sitting over there and he's eyeballing you and everything. He drinks a beer and everything's cool. But when he drinks 6, all of a sudden he's getting some courage. He's getting some of that liquid courage. And so at the end of the day, or at the end of the night, there's going to be a problem because, see, you know, they got to take up for their good guys, and, you know, they got to come over and say something. And to be perfectly honest with you, we didn't go to that many bars because we could hardly even go out to eat, to be honest with you. We would have to put on sunglasses. We all, both both Bobby and myself had long blonde hair, so we had to put that up underneath our baseball hat, until we ordered. And once we ordered and got our food, then we take our glasses off and let our hair down and everything, because we didn't know what was safe to eat and what wasn't.
Wow.
If we just walked in. I mean, it was really bad. We had to be real careful. We had things handed to us, cakes and pies, and we didn't dare eat. We'd throw them away.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you think about it.
Crazy.
Because like you said, the fans back in those days, it was a very special group of people, and you weren't sure what was going to happen at that time because, I mean, it was such a different atmosphere than what was in the real world for them. I mean, because wrestling for a lot of these people was a part of their weekly routine. I mean, you had weekly matches they would go to at the same time or the same spot or whatever else, and they grew to know you or hate you or get to know you or grew to hate you. I mean, that's an incredible story, like you just said there a minute ago. Cakes and pies and food, you couldn't eat it. Probably looked damn good, but you weren't sure what was going to happen to you.
Yeah, and you didn't want to give it to any of your buddies because you didn't want them to get sick.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of promoters. I wouldn't mind handing a couple of them. But,
no, I hear you there. But, no, that's funny stuff, man. I'm so glad you got a chance to come on the air and talk with us here. We're speaking to Loverboy Dennis Condrey right here, one half of the Midnight Express. And, Dennis, did you ever have well, before I ask you this question, I want to ask you, and a lot of people have asked this question. I've seen it up on different web boards and stuff like that. But, around the end there in 87 or so, I think it was, we saw a reformation of the Midnight Express with Stan Lane. We saw Stan Lane come in and tag team with beautiful Bobby Eaton and Jim Cornette as their manager and reform the Midnight Express as we knew it. And they went on to be a very successful tag team version of the Midnight Express. Can you tell us in your own words, and that doesn't be a long story, but, just tell us, why did you leave at that time, and why did you decide to break away from one of the hottest tag teams going at that time?
Well, I'll make a long story short, Brian.
Okay.
And, I've got allergies. I hope you guys can understand me. But the trees here in Alabama are blooming, and they're killing my allergies. But anyway, I'll make a long story short. What happened, actually, Brian, was we were asked to come to New York.
Okay.
Vince called us up, or had his guys to call us up, and I'll make this real quick. And we flew up. Bobby, Jimmy, myself, we flew up. We sat down. We talked a deal. I thought it was a deal that we couldn't refuse, but it was three of us, so we got to vote.
Oh.
Well, there with Vince, we walked off, Jimmy, Bobby, and myself, and we voted that we was going to go there. We was going to leave the Carolinas, WWE, WCW, and we was going to go to WWE, WWF at that time.
Right.
But anyway, once we did that and went on the plane back home, well, Jimmy said, Dennis, I don't know if this is a good move or not. I said, well, we already told the guy that we were coming.
Yeah.
And so, Bobby and Jimmy stuck together and sort of voted. They didn't want to because Bobby had just bought a house in Charlotte, and, I had just bought one in Charlotte, and Jimmy had a place. And what I tried to explain to those guys, look, we've already been here in Charlotte and WCW for almost 2 years. I said, we need to go and go up there. We can come back and buy Charlotte if we want to.
Yeah.
So that's what and they decided they didn't want to make a move. And I decided that I did, so I just sort of that's the reason why I left the Midnight Express. So
was there tension there in regards to you leaving the tag team? I mean, because now that the 2/3 of them had said we want to go back and stay with with Jim Crockett Promotions and whatnot, was there some tension there with you? Is that why you said, what, if I can't get along with you guys in a business decision, how are we going to function in the future? I'm out of here. Was that the situation?
Well, it was a situation to a certain extent, Brian, but what I couldn't make them understand was they always listened to me, everything I ever said do, and all of a sudden we get this opportunity of a lifetime, I thought, in my mind. And I said, look, guys, we got to do this. This is big money. And, he's already talking about selling dolls. And at that time, we was going to be the first one to get dolls.
Wow.
That would have been huge for us.
Wow.
And I couldn't make those guys understand that. And I said, look, we really need to do this.
Wow.
And, it's a deal where I regret that I didn't sit down and talk to those guys, but here's what really pissed me off is what we told Vince McMahon we was coming, and then we get on the plane and they said, no, we don't want. See, I done gave the man my word.
Yeah.
I said, Vince, we will come.
Yeah.
And that's where we stood on that, and so that's what really, got me kind of angry. And another thing too, real quick.
Yeah.
I couldn't make Bobby and Jimmy understand that we had already went through all the tag teams there. We went through the Road Warriors. We went through the Rock and Roll Express. We went through the Fantastics.
Right.
We went through Dutch Mantell and whoever his... All the tag teams, we done went through them. There was nobody else for us to work with at that time. I said, look, let's go to New York. We'll come back in a year or two here.
Yeah.
I couldn't make them understand that.
Yeah. And that's incredible because if you turn back history, almost 30 years ago, whatever it was, 25, whatever, if you turn it back and you look at that and you say, what could have been? I mean, I consider name 3-4 tag teams off the bat. I would love to have seen some matches against you and the Rockers, you and the Hart Foundation, you and the British Bulldogs, you and the Killer Bees. I mean, the possibilities there were endless in regards to who you guys could have had a match against, and your style against their... Oh, man, I'm blown away just thinking about what could have happened.
Well, that's what I tried to explain to Bobby and Jimmy, and they were intent. And don't get me wrong, don't misunderstand me.
No.
I respect their decision. We were making good money, Brian.
Yeah.
We were making real good money.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was time to leave just to work with other guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I said, we got the Midnight Rockers up there. They took half of our name and half of Rick and them's name.
Yep.
So we got an automatic little deal there when we first get there, and which was going to be the deal. That's why Vince wanted us.
Let me ask you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, were you guys going to be packaged as Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis as the Midnight Express, or was he going to change your name around?
No, that stayed the same. That was going to be the same, and it's not very often he does that, but I thought it was a deal, Brian, and that I couldn't refuse, and it was a good deal, I thought.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem to think it was, and what it was, I don't know if they wanted to do the long, New York has the long trips, Vince has those other countries. And see, Jimmy don't like to fly. Jimmy was in a position, and he explained to me, he said, Dennis, I said, Jimmy, it don't matter where we go, we're going to have to start flying because these towns are selling out everywhere. We can't make them by driving. We have to start flying.
Right. Wow.
And he didn't really want to get a grip on that. He would fly once or twice a week, but he didn't want to fly every night. And he ended up with flew every night anyway. Yeah,
I was going to say, I don't think there was much of a difference in regards to your transportation plans, but boy, that's a tremendous story. Just thinking about what could have been, like we just said, that I would have loved to have seen a match between you and the Hart Foundation. That would have been tremendous. Wow.
Well, it was lined up. It was set up. Vince had already, he said, I can do this. And see, we had to keep this quiet. We couldn't let the Crockett's know this, that we were meeting with Vince. And so we did it on an off day. We had one off day 1 week. We hadn't been off in like 4 or 5 weeks. So, we're working 7 days a week. So we get one off day. Vince says, I need y'all to come up here. So,
damn.
And it was so quiet, and really, I don't understand how we kept it secret. He left his office and came to meet with us. He had a limo pick us up. We went to a hotel.
Yeah.
And that was our deal. I said, now look, we don't want nobody to find out about this. And sure enough, we get back to Charlotte that night, and guess who's standing there staring at us?
Uh-oh.
Tully Blanchard, and tells everybody.
Oh, no. He stooged you out?
That stooge is the damnedest stooge. Me and Tully had big heat, boy. We had big heat, and probably still do today.
Really? Wow,
yeah,
I didn't know.
Heat.
Wow, legitimate real heat. I didn't know that was ever a situation. What did it start with that, or was it even before that?
It was before that because we knew him as a stooge. He would tell you, he's a stooge. You run around with Ric Flair, and you run around with those guys like that. You got to sort of. And to be honest with you, now I don't want to knock him. I would say this to his face. The thing about Tully is he wasn't all that.
Yeah.
He was put into a pretty good position, and he ran around with Ric Flair, so they, it sort of spilt over. Some of Ric's stuff spilt over onto Tully.
Wow.
So just put it like that.
Wow. Those are pretty bold comments, I got to say, because I don't think a lot of people would probably say that. But that, hey, yeah.
Every shoot interview I do, I say that.
Wow.
And I've seen Tully a number of times, and we'll look at each other and acknowledge each other, and that's as far as it goes.
No kidding.
He don't like me, and I damn sure don't like him.
Wow. We got some heat going on here on Off the Top Rope Radio. We got Dennis Condrey and Tully Blanchard. I never knew that. That's amazing. I had no clue about that. Wow, he stooged out against that. And so when he did that, when he stooged out, like you said, was that kind of like the last straw where you said, you know what? I can't come back here and work with this bullshit going on and this going on. Is that where it kind of ended right there?
Well, I figured in my mind that, I've been in the business a little bit longer than Bob and Jimmy, and I said, well, look, they know we're not happy here. The Crockett's know we're wanting to make a move.
Yeah.
And this is the damnedest thing, Brian. You're not going to believe this. So, sure enough, he calls us in the office. Jim Crockett does.
Uh-huh.
And he says, look, I've heard that... and see, all Tully did is he went back and he looked where that plane was coming from.
Uh-huh.
So he put two and two together, and he was right. We had just came from there, straight shot into Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Jim said, look, I know y'all went and talked with Vince. Here's the deal, Brian, and you're going to shit when I tell you. Look here, we got a raise. He thought we was going to go. He gave us a big raise. And we wasn't going no damn way, but we couldn't tell him we wasn't going, or he wouldn't have gave us the raise.
So he thought that he thought that you guys stayed because of the raise, but in retrospect, you didn't go anyway, and you still got the raise. That is funny. Now, I don't know if I'm getting too personal here, but if I can ask you two questions. First of all, when you got the raise from them, can you tell us how much that was, what you were making a year? And number two, what was the offer that Vince gave you per year, if you don't mind us asking?
Okay, now I can't tell you what we was making because we always said we wouldn't do that because we made more money than the guys we were working with.
Okay.
And we don't want to get nothing like that stirred up at this juncture.
Understood. Understood.
But we did make more money than the guys we was in the ring with most of the time, almost all the time.
Wow.
And Vince, and to answer your question, second question there, Vince never gave us a price. Vince don't give prices. And back then, he was going to give us a contract, a nice contract, but the dolls were the big thing, Brian. We was going to be the first one to get the dolls.
I'll be damned. Isn't that amazing?
And ain't no telling how much money. We would probably still be making money off those dolls.
Incredible. That's incredible. I never really thought about that in regards to the Midnight Express ever being in the World Wrestling Federation back in the day, but I'll tell you, what could have been. Wow. What could have been. What a great story, Dennis. Thank you for sharing that with us, man. That's amazing. And then the Heat with Tully. I just never knew. I got a shoot interview of you guys summer. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to watch it because I got to get re-educated on the Midnight Express here because I didn't know half this stuff. This is great. This is great stuff. Oh,
well, all this stuff is true, and like I say on my shoot interviews, everybody knows that me and Tully. I'm sure he don't like me either. Don't get me wrong, and that's fine. You know what? I'm gonna sleep good tonight anyway. But the deal is, we just never quite. I knew what Tully was, and I understand he's a preacher now. I'm happy for him. I hope he's happy. I hope he does well. Yeah. And I hope he, his preaching does. But back in the day now. Unless he's changed, Brian. Yeah. He was not a very nice guy.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great stuff. And I just got a text from one of our longtime fans and a good buddy of mine. He says, Tully versus Dennis Condrey version I Quit 2.
I would like that. I still worked out 3 or 4 times a week, run and work out with weights and everything. So that would be, and I do a little MMA. So that would help me. I would love to do that.
That's awesome. Hey, you know what? Is this number that I'm calling you on? Is this your cell number?
This is my home phone number.
Okay. Do you think that you have a cell phone, I'm sure, too, right? So, okay. I'd like to get that from you so when I get into Nolans there, I'd like to hook up with you maybe the day before or whatever else because Bobby talked about getting together and having some beers and stuff. And, I'd love to get a chance to hang out with you a little bit before we do the whole Mid-South thing and whatever else and just have a good time. I think we could, crack open a few and hear some of your stories. I'd love to hear them.
Oh, we got plenty of them. It's some that I can't say over the air.
No, that's why I said, yeah.
I would love to do that. I'm going to be there early on Thursday.
Okay.
Me and my wife are going to come down, so we'll be there Thursday. And,
cool.
We got some stuff to do Thursday night, but we'll have most of the day Thursday.
Excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a call this week sometime. I'll give you a buzz, and we can trade numbers and whatnot because, like I said, I'd love to get together with you guys and talk about that because, it's very rare that we kind of hit it off so good here on the show like this, and just to hear your stories. I'm 43 years old. I grew up watching Jim Crockett. I grew up watching Mid-South. Grew up watching the old World Wrestling Federation, and I always loved at 5:05 p.m. Central Time in Chicago, Channel 38 on my cable company, the NWA coming on with TBS and just the whole show about it. I loved how it was just like you guys versus 2 preliminary guys. I don't like using the word jobbers. I like using preliminary guys because these guys were just as important as the talent inside the ring. Because if they didn't look good against you, then you know what? It didn't make much of a difference.
Hey, I got a short, quick story for you on that.
Please.
Bobby and myself, me mostly, it was my deal. We got the job guys raises. But we did. See, without those guys, what are we?
Yeah. No, I hear you. That's awesome. Who are some of the favorite guys? Because, you know, I consider a name off probably 10 preliminary guys off the top of my head, you know, from the Mulkeys to George. I mean, who are some of the guys that you really enjoyed working inside the ring? I know that Gene Ligon was pretty decent from what I understood from a few of the guys, too.
He was very good, but the Mulkeys, they took a classic ass whooping. It wasn't just a regular... It wasn't just a regular whip. It was a classic ass whipping.
Yeah.
And they took it better than anybody that I've ever been in the ring with as far as, you know, they could get you over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was some Mulkamania ran wild for about 3 days. So, I mean, you know, it was pretty big.
I'll tell you a quick story on that real quick.
Please.
For a minute here. Hey, we get a call from, we was off on a Sunday. Jim Crockett calls us up and said, Dennis, would y'all like to do a show 2 weeks from now on a Sunday? He said, you guys are off. He said, it'll be an afternoon show. And I said, where at? And he said, Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Sure.
I said, well, who we going to work with? He said, the Mulkeys. Well, I started laughing, and I couldn't quit. And I laughed, and I laughed. I said, Jimmy, are you serious? He said, yeah. We went down there and stole out Spartanburg with the Mulkeys.
I'll be damned. You gotta be kidding. The Mulkey brothers sold out. That's freaking awesome.
It's the truth, too. And when we hook up down there, I can tell you some stories you won't believe.
Please, I would love to hear them because I just love the old days stories and any ones that you've got to tell. My ears are wide open for you, brother. I'm gonna tell you now before we go because I know we're running kind of late here. But first of all, I appreciate your time. Here on Off the Top Rope Radio. Dennis Condrey, Loverboy Dennis, right here from the Midnight Express. Great chatting with you. But I want to go ahead and just read off. I always kind of do a little, you know, these quick questions here. First thing that comes in your mind, just give me an answer, okay?
Okay, all right.
My favorite beer that I like to drink is...
Budweiser?
Like it. The old traditional Budweiser. To me, the most underrated wrestler who never really got the big break he deserved would be...
Magnum TA because of the accident, of course, but he was going to be the next big star.
Yeah, he was going to be a world champion from what I understand. Yeah. That was all set in stone, right? That was supposed to be it. Because I believe he had a feud going on at the time with Jimmy Garvin when he got hurt. And
well, the night he had the wreck, him and I had Porsches, and we were racing back from Spartanburg, actually. Or no, I'm sorry, Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
But he went to the bar, and I went home, and then that night he had the wreck.
Oh, my God, you're kidding.
But we raced all the way back. He had a red Porsche, and I did too. So,
wow.
You know, we was kind of, you know, just messing around, but we was going 110, 115 sometimes.
Yeah, that was definitely... I mean, and you know what, that's a great answer, because like you said, he had the opportunity to become huge and run with that championship. And, you know, it's kind of funny because I think 2 or 3 of the people I interviewed here in the last few weeks had said, and someone I always said for years, is Brad Armstrong. I think that Brad really had great potential.
Brad, you know, I miss him. Him and I were very, very close, and his wife and my wife, I was in Gatlinburg the night that he passed, and, you know, I didn't get to make the funeral and everything, but I tell you what, that guy there, he was very, very good in the ring. He really was. He's
excellent, actually. I thought he was just one of the best I've seen. And I mean, it was like you were watching a video game. It was that fluent. I mean, his moves were so good, and I miss him too. He was a very, very, very good talent. So, okay, question number 3 out of 5 here. My favorite sports team ever is
Denver Broncos.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
I got a little horse ranch in Denver, and I go back and forth. I lived there 12 years. After I quit the midnight, I moved to Denver.
Wow. Well, you know, I got to tell you something. I don't know. You're probably not watching the show we're doing right now live on the feed on our website, but I'm actually wearing an Orange Crush T-shirt, and
great.
And it's the soda. It's not the Denver Broncos, but it's just kind of funny that you said that because what are the chances? You know what I mean?
This last year, you know, I thought Peyton Manning was going to do it, but I think he will this coming year. But I was just crushed, you know, when they lost that game.
No pun intended, of course, crushed. But
really.
You know, and that first safety of the game, I thought, oh my God, this may be a telltale of signs to come in this game, and it sure was. But not a very good Super Bowl. I was looking forward to like a last-minute field goal or something like that. But you guys built pretty well on free agency. We'll see what happens there and what else, you know, DeMarcus Ware and these guys. So good luck to you on that. Okay, 2 more questions. To me, the greatest invention of all time is without a doubt.
Ooh, that's a hard one there.
I know.
You know, this is going to sound crazy to you, okay?
Okay.
But I'm a big bow hunter, and I shoot bows that's got these special sights on them that you can reach out and hit it 60 and 80 yards now with a bow.
Okay.
The sights I use are by Matthews. It's a Matthews deal.
Okay.
And you can actually, it's like a red dot, but it's not on a rifle anymore. They're putting them on bows. And I'm a big bow hunter.
Nice. So the invention of that scope then, basically.
Yeah, it's a little red dot scope. In other words, it'll light up where you're shooting your arrow.
Uh-huh.
And I used to be pretty good, 30, 40 yards. I can hit it 60 and 70 yards now.
Very cool. And that's a great answer because I want honest answers on this, and I think that a lot of bow hunters out there would probably agree with you on something like that. So that's cool. Okay, last question. I usually ask this of everybody because I love to get the replies on this, and I'll tell you Bobby Eaton's answer after you answer because I thought it was pretty humorous here. And I know your answer to this will not be Tully Blanchard, but living or dead, if I could spend 5 minutes with this person, it would be...
I would have to be perfectly honest with you, I would have to say Brad Armstrong because...
Really?
It's funny you said what you did. I broke Brad into the business.
Uh-huh.
I trained Brad.
Nice.
In 1980 in Pensacola, Florida, his dad Bob didn't even want him in the business. He said, he didn't want Brad in the business. Brad was a bodybuilder for like years. He won Mr. Georgia. He won some other competition. I'm talking about really competitions.
Right.
Bob didn't want him to become a wrestler. But see, nobody told me, so Brad was coming to the matches, and I was going out working out with him in the ring before the matches started.
Wow.
Well, Bob comes up to me one day and said, Dennis, what you doing? I said, well, I'm working out with Brad. He said, well, I don't want Brad in the business. I said, well, nobody told me. And by that time, Brad's already got pretty good. And Brad was a natural. You didn't have to work out with Brad too much.
Yeah.
He was a natural. I mean, he was a super guy. The body, like I said, he won he's got trophies everywhere from bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is, too, like I said a minute ago, like watching him was like watching a video game because he was so fluent inside the ring. And that's why whenever I bring that up, I always say to me, the most underrated. And the other guy that I put up there, too, I always say two people that just come to my mind right away when I say underrated. One is Brad Armstrong, and the other one is Mike Smith / Sam Houston. I thought he was also a tremendous talent. He
was very good. He was slender. That hurt him a little bit. But other than that, yes, I got to agree with you on that.
Cool. It's always good to have people agree with me because it doesn't happen very often. So thank you for that. All right, and I got to tell you, Bobby's answer. Let me ask you this: who do you think Bobby Eaton said is his answer?
Bobby probably would have said. Bobby was real close, I think. God, I don't know what name. You know what? I'm not sure. I wouldn't know, to be honest with you.
Well, here you go. You know this guy very well. He said Jim Cornette.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And, I don't think he even hesitated. He just said probably Jim Cornette because, they get along so well and he loves Jimmy. And I thought that was a great answer because you know what? That showed honesty. And
yeah.
I've had people say Jesus Christ. I've had people say Elvis Presley. I've had people say their parents. But, to hear him say Jim Cornette, who he's been with for, 30-something years, and for you to say what you did about Brad Armstrong is very touching because it sounds like you and Brad were, very close in terms of not only just, wrestlers, but obviously as close friends, and that's great. That's great.
Well, his wife, I'm sure he wouldn't mind, and I don't think his wife would mind, but his wife's a bigwig at HBO.
Oh,
and every year at Christmas, we get what we call a care package, which is all these hats and these fleeces and everything with HBO written on them. I got like 20 jackets in here with HBO written on them.
Wow, no kidding?
Yeah. And, so we were very close, the family and everything. We really were.
That's awesome. And the Armstrong family I know is a very tight-knit organization in terms of families and, very successful, Steve and Scott.
I'm a big fan of the Armstrongs, and I made it very clear on all my shoot interviews. I made it very clear to Brad, and I'm glad I did. I made it clear to Bob. I'm a fan of the Armstrongs.
That's awesome. So am I. I think Bullet Bob, and when he teamed up with Brad in those Jim Crockett Memorial Senior Cup matches, I thought those were great, and I liked how he just came along and just helped the feud, so to speak, that he was having. Those were great times, and I will never forget watching those and just the believability factor with the family, for instance, with the Armstrongs, and then just overall the heel groups that ran rampant in the NWA, for instance, and in Mid-South as well. It was a little bit simpler times, but I like simpler times because as I get older, I like things to be a little more simple. So that's just how
Me too. I'm with you there, Brian. Believe me.
Awesome, buddy. Well, listen, we got to get going here. We're at the 6:30 mark out here in Phoenix. But listen, take care of those allergies. I always heard that a few Budweisers will help that out. So you do what you got to do on your end there. And listen, safe travels to you. I'll see you in a week or so out there. We'll have a good time. We'll talk. We'll do some stuff on camera. We'll share a good interview or two. I'm making a little documentary, like I said here a minute ago. I talked to you on Monday about it. I want to make sure everybody gets a copy of that, and you'll be the first one that gets that, because I really appreciate the interview. It was good talking to you. I hope that you have a good, safe trip. Good health to you. And listen, I'll call you here in the next day or two. We'll trade some numbers, and we get together. We'll hook up, and we'll crack open a few Budweisers. How's that sound?
I had a great time, Brian, and it was really nice speaking with you, and I will see you soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Loverboy Dennis Condrey, ladies and gentlemen, one half of the Midnight Express, one of the top 10 tag teams, in my opinion, of all time. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Dennis Condrey joining us there, and what a great interview. I mean, I've tried for years and years to get a hold of Dennis Condrey, and I didn't know where he was living and whatnot, and through the help of a few good friends here that I know inside the business and whatnot, he was able to set that up for me, and I really appreciate that, and great times. We talk about Jim Crockett Promotions. We talk about Mid-South Championship Wrestling with Bill Watts, and the talent involved in those groups. Like he said, if you were in that group in Mid-South and you worked for Bill Watts, you had to sell tickets and make people come to your shows to get paid. And you had to be the best, the upper echelon, so to speak, of what it took to become that type of wrestler. And definitely Dennis Condrey was that. And I love being able to talk to him today. So before we go here, I want to read off a couple emails. I'm just going to read off one email here because we only got a little bit of time here. Let's see. My buddy Brandon Dack writes in and says, "Hey, Shank and Doug, here are my thoughts on Monday night's Raw. The opening segment with Dave Bautista, Randy Orton, and Stephanie McMahon was boring as hell, in my opinion, until she slapped Batista's sunglasses off and Batista speared Orton. I could do without Los Matadores, El Torito, and some guy in a Scooby-Doo costume. I really enjoyed the matches on Raw." So there you go. Thank you. That's what we asked for. If you ever want to send us any emails, whether it's during the show or away from the show or whatnot, it's right there. Brian at KQCKradio.com. It's as easy as pie to go ahead and get that there. Again, Brian at KQCKradio.com. Thank you to Mr. Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Thank you to Loverboy Dennis Condrey. Thank you to Doug McDonald from WrestlingRumors.net. It's been a great show. We appreciate you listening. Spread the word. If you ever want to send an email and get a link to the show so you can watch it and listen to it again, we'd love to hear from you. Once again, Brian at KQCKradio.com. And we'll have more information next week leading up to the final week going into Mid-South Legends, Friday, April 4th, 2014 at the historic Siger Center in Chalmette, Louisiana. Mid-South Legends, it's what it's all about. So don't forget to join in, get involved. If you can't be there live, I'm sure there's many ways that you can check it out somehow on the internet. We're going to have a really cool documentary going on, and I do hope that we can get a chance to play it here on the radio show or whatnot. If you want more information on that in terms of getting something like that from me, all you got to do, again, like I said, is send me an email at Brian at KQCK.com, and we'll make darn sure that we get something out to you for that. So anyway, we got to go. You take care. We'll talk to you soon. And again, thank you for
once again, wrestling fans, for listening to today's show. We would love to hear from you away from the airwaves, so we invite you to like our Facebook page at Off the Top Rope Radio. And any emails you want to send, please send them directly to me at Brian, BRIAN, at KQCKradio.com. We'll talk to you next week right here on KQCK Radio, USA, Costa Rica.